welcome to Oh Brother, the podcast of three brothers trying to figure it all out, with your hosts, Brandon, Colin, and Aaron. On this week's show, armchair quarterbacking battlebots.
Hello.
Ahoy.
Ahoy. I'm here. You know who's not here is our little AI friend. It's not in the call. I don't know.
I did notice that. Oh dear.
I don't know what's going on. Very where are you, little buddy? Come on. Oh well.
Because you were late and it was like, nope, I'm out.
You know
suck up.
Actually,
Blam.
this is probably because I moved it. I probably confused the.
Oh, that's true because you moved the
thing.
Time.
Yeah. So it's
right.
like it's angry at me now. No. Come
Oh
back
no.
here. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Oh, oof. Okay. Well, we'll see if we can find that soon. But did you guys get a bunch of storms?
Well, kinda. Like it did storm, but
Okay.
it wasn't like my weather app seemed to indicate that it was going to be more stormy than it was. It just sort of rained, and then it was like, oh, here's a bit of thunder for you. Yeah. And then that was it.
Okay.
So we'll see. There's supposed to be some more tomorrow. Question mark. Who knows? So yeah, it has been raining though this evening on us a little bit. So
Yeah, we've kept on getting like, doom is upon you. Get ready. Doom is nope. Just kidding. Maybe in about another 40 minutes. No. Nope.
Yeah.
Okay, man. Another 40. Nope. Just like for the all day. So much so that like, and then tomorrow it was supposed to be really bad, like all day long. And then so I actually moved 2 walks and two appointments with clients. And then now I'm like, oh no, I could have kept all those. Actually, turns out,
but you know how the universe works, right? If you didn't, it would be like hailing and
yes, it would have been like, oh, It is on. Yes, exactly. Exactly. So
this system thing like really blew strangely, right? I don't really know what on earth it was doing, but like it's moved in an odd direction, it feels like. And so we're kind of like in the middle back end of one currently, and like it's raining outside right now. And there's a few storm cells about on this weather map, I see. Not real sure in which direction they are moving. Well, still kind of the northeast traditional direction here, but it's just kind of like not staying together very well. It's just kind of like blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it really seemed like it came in and it was very scattered across a pretty wide geographic region, which is frustrating because then when you see something that's like 30% chance, you're like, well, but like, that's and trying to remind myself every time I see that doesn't mean it's a 30% like what is it? Because it's not like a statistical chance of it raining.
No, it's like it's something like within this certain area there will be like 30% of it will be raining. Right?
Yes,
it's something like that.
Yeah,
it's
something that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that is an important point, right? Like a lot of people don't know that because like if it does say like 30% chance, it's not like, oh man, there's a 1 in 3 chance it's gonna rain. No, that's not what it means. It's some like bizarre like something about like the area, and like in this one area it's gonna be like 30% of it's gonna be rain. I don't know. I don't remember exactly. But it is not like a statistical probability of rain. Right, which is what it sounds like it is. You know, it sounds like that's what it should be. It isn't.
Because meteorologists, they got to do their own thing, and
they're very confusing. Right, they do some confusing things.
They're wrong enough as it is. I don't think they need more statistics.
Yeah, I mean, weather science is very difficult, right?
Yes.
Like, I mean, you think about it, like in like 1900, if you ask somebody, can you predict the weather? They would say, no, it's impossible.
Yeah. What are you?
And so like,
you'd be
like,
burned
no
for
way.
black magic, right? Is what you do. Is what would happen.
Yeah. This is like, it was only like I want to say like the 1880s. People were like, huh, I wonder if this is even a thing you can do. And everyone's like, no, dummy. You can't do that. It's not possible to predict the weather at all. It's apparently completely random.
Mm-hmm.
No, but it is extraordinarily difficult. There's like 1,000 variables. Like if the temperature is slightly different, if the all this stuff happens, like then there'll be more weather, or if the wind's blowing from this direction because whatever. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing about the 30% or whatever, it has nothing to do with, and this is what I think I latch on to, and I have to remind myself, no, of like, it doesn't have anything to do with intensity of it. It is just percent. It's just chance.
Also true.
Of like something falling from the sky. It doesn't mean that 100% chance. 100% chance does not mean heavier rainfall than a 20% chance. Like that's the other part that kind of trips you up too, right?
That's true. That's true. Some people, I can see how you could think that, right? But yeah, just when you do, it's just weird because normally when you apply percentages, right, it's like normally in a statistical part, right? But it is more of like a coverage area, like it's like an area thing, not a statistical analysis. So anyway, has rained this afternoon.
Okay.
We'll see what about tomorrow. Don't know.
So you have had 100% rain today.
Yes, it has. It right now. There's 100% probability that it's raining because I can hear it.
It's currently
because it's currently raining.
Can't fool me. There you go. That's what that is.
The old.
Right.
It's wet. It's raining.
Oh Boom. My gosh.
Nailed it.
If gone, right? Run.
Yes, because people think that that's funny. Right? That's I feel like that's the thing that was funny the first time I saw it. Only. Like the 500th time I saw that, I was like, oh, guys, okay. Ha ha ha. I get it. Stop.
Yes.
If it's gone, run. Like, yeah. Ha ha. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah. There's lots of variations on there. Like if there's white spots on it, watch out for birds. I've seen that before.
Yeah.
Right. If if you cannot see the rock, it is nighttime.
Oh yes, of course. At which point you couldn't read the sign either.
Oh,
but
man.
These are listeners. This is the level of joke you get at Boy Scout summer camp. If you were ever confused about what weird Boy Scout humor is like, that's it. That's kind of the extent of the thing. Really bad puns and jokes that are not funny.
I kind of wanted to know. When, like, the history of this thing, because it seems rather obscure to have, right? Like, that's just
a weather rock.
Yeah, yeah. Like weather. What's the history of the weather rock? I don't know. That's there. Somebody do a research project on that. Right.
Well, hey, whenever I Googled what is a weather rock, the first link is a Boy Scout link. Just so you're aware. It's the Atlanta BSA.org.
Oh no. Oh no.
I bet there says if it's sticky, there's Coca-Cola on it. That's what. Hashtag not sponsored.
Yeah. Our people have done this to the world. Oh no.
Oh no.
It's terrible.
Oh no.
It's absolutely terrible. Yeah. No, it's definitely the first time you see it. And it's especially humorous when it is I will say it I find them more humorous the larger the rock is. Because especially whenever you get to the last one, and it is, if rock is gone. Right. That's what makes that punchline a lot funnier when it's just massive, like Volkswagen size boulder suspended above the ground. You're like, oh, right. That's terrible.
This also does say that you typically hung from tripod, right? So this is a typical feature of the thing. The Weather Rock Wikipedia page says.
Okay, well, I'll include it. That's fine. There you go. Interesting. What other interesting facts, or if any, are you gleaning from?
Well, I was just trying to figure. There's no like. I don't really know. Like, I was trying to like. I was trying to read. Oh yeah. So here's a big old list of stuff, right? Yeah. Here's your. Watch out for birds. It is nighttime. If rock is wet and swinging violently, there's a hurricane. If rock is missing, you're in a tornado. If rock is underwater, there's a flood.
Oh,
if rock is bouncing, there's an earthquake. If it is icy, there's frost outside.
See these?
If it's difficult to see, it's foggy. Right. This one's a hyper-specific. If the string is cut, a Wendigo has passed by. That's that's a very specific.
Wow. A Wendigo.
I wonder where that one is.
Oh my gosh, a Wendigo. One of the more terrifying First Nations lore items.
Right? Like
genuinely terrifying. There are things where I'm like, oh, okay, that's Bigfoot. Oh, okay, this is, but like a Wendigo, like, oh my goodness, like what peyote or whatever have you been like? Geez, it's just a lot. Like,
yeah, it's kind of terrible. That's not. It's not a great thing. International listeners, hello, friends. How's it going? If you're unaware, the Wendigo is a mythological creature from like Plains and Great Lakes Native American folklore, right?
Mm-hmm.
According to its Wikipedia page, it is said to invoke feelings of insatiable greed and hunger and the desire to cannibalize other humans. Wow, isn't that fun?
Yes, and these creatures, they're always depicted as, well, I think there's modern interpretations of them, and then there's more traditional interpretations. But the modern interpretations have definitely gone for like, oh, they're terrifying. Like
well, even really, the old ones, like human beast hybrid, lots of like deer skull antlery vibes, right? Horns, something like that. Usually antlers, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So it's kind of insane. Oh, let's read about the folklore. Oh, I'm not going to read all this. This is very, very long. But this is
fine.
But yeah, that's kind of what its thing is. It's just sort of this like monstrous thing that lives in the forest and is not very nice at all.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. There you go. Big, scary forest monster with antlers.
Yeah, so if you have one of these
apparently
rocks,
will steal your weather rock.
For what reasons? Don't ask, right? I think that's really what you come down to is you don't pursue if the rock is gone. You just go,
true.
Okay,
maybe they're also tired of the joke. Like,
maybe
I know it's wet. Okay,
they pass by. I'm out here myself. This is not fun.
In the woods.
I'm in the woods. I know these things. I don't have a weather rock. I have a weather forest. Come on, please.
Yes. That's okay.
There you go. There's some.
No. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Oh, I was trying to help a gentleman in one of our service areas. We service a couple assisted and independent living facilities for people who have pets and have trouble caring for them. We'll come over and take care of their pets and take them on walks, make sure they get fed. I was leaving this place, and this one was particularly focused on Alzheimer's and dementia patients. And I was leaving. It was late at night, and there was a gentleman just sitting in the hallway, and he was like waving down, calling for help. And I was like, okay, like I'll come help. And I ran up to him, and he was like, I can't get my door open. And I was like, oh gosh, like, yeah, let me see if I can get it for you. And he's like, no, the key's inside. And I was like, well, that's okay. So I tried to jiggle the door, and I'm like, yeah, let me go see if I can find somebody. And you would think in an assisted living facility, there would be like assistants, like around. I could not find anybody. And it's also one of those places where it's rather large and a labyrinth of place, such that every corner looks exactly like the previous corner. And after a little while, I did start to have a mild panic attack that I would never find my way out again, because it was just like going at corner after corner. I couldn't find my way out, but I did find.
And the Wendigo was there,
right,
and it was coming,
chasing me.
And it was like
lights were shutting off as I was running through.
True.
And
Either a Wendigo or a Minotaur, whose natural habitat is a labyrinth. But
yes, as everyone knows. So as I was being chased by neither of those back to the gentleman, he had found his way. He got it, opened his door somehow, and he was in a wheelchair. And I was like, okay. He said, oh, but I can't turn on my TV. And I was like, oh, okay. Let me just turn that on for you. And he's like, yeah, I tried the top button. And I said, well, let me see. And I pushed the top button, and it immediately pops on. And then I realize, right, I'm in an assisted living facility with people who have dementia and Alzheimer's. I don't think this gentleman understood what was going on in his environment. And I think he was just lost and confused. And so I turn it on, and I turn, and standing in the doorway is, the nurse that I was looking for. And she was looking at me. It was like, and she said, can I help you?
Yes, please.
And I said, right. I was walking a patient's dog, and I was leaving, and I was just turning on his TV. Here's the remote. Bye. like, sorry, like I didn't mean to be here. I'll see myself out. Moral of the story.
It's kind of awkward situation to be put in. Like, oh, you want to be helpful, but also you're like, I'm not equipped to be very helpful currently, right? Like, I don't really know the best helpfulness thing to do.
Yeah, how involved do I get? Like, I was like, don't think if that happens again, I'm not going into somebody else's room like that. Just because I also know that people with Alzheimer's and dementia, like, they take advantage of a lot, like they really do. And so I don't like it. Just optically, I was like, oh gosh, like this looks really like so I had to I actually emailed the director of the complex and was just like, hey, I explained everything, and she was like, no, that's fine, thank you for helping out the people. But I was just like, oh geez, like I was like one of those situations where you find yourself in, and you're like, shouldn't. Okay, this will be put on my never do again list. And hopefully there'll be a more helpful sign to help me figure this out. But I was just like, where was the assistance? Like, going down the hallways, like going to every nursing station, and it was sans nurse. It was an anti-nursing station because they were nowhere to be found.
Problematic.
And then I was like, okay, well. Then what I started to do is go, okay, maybe they're in like other people's rooms, like doing a nightly round or something. But then well, what am I going to do? Like go door to door and listen? Like that's even more creepy.
That's probably what they were doing. And they were just like all the places that you were not. Like, right. Oh no.
Yes. Which is fine. And then I was just going to go back and wait with him because he said he had called or something like that. So I was like, I'll just wait with you until help arrives. But anyway, that went downhill. So don't do that, folks.
Yes, tricky situation though. Like because you want, like I said, you want to be helpful, but like not really sure how to be the most helpful, and then you don't want to be like, nope, sorry, run away. Like you don't do that. That's weird. Like,
right? I don't want to be that guy. So yes,
it's all right.
Good times. Stuff happens. Yes, for sure.
Indeed.
We're also taking care of a dog whose name is Frida, and
Nice.
I chuckle every time I have to call Frida over or tell Frida to stop jumping down up on me and to get down and to convince Frida to go use the bathroom. And it's just I'm like, oh, this is funny. But her owner. Okay, so this is kind of cool. This is something that I spend a lot of time, not a lot of time, but I think about quite a bit of how to make my services more accessible to more people, as far as and I know there's a lot of other things that we can do intentionally to do that, as far as how do I service different communities of people, Spanish speaking individuals or Ukrainian speaking individuals or whatever, sort of in that context. And it's hard to have the staff and things like that. But this client is making me especially think about this because she speaks Spanish beautifully, and English in a broken manner. And during the meet and greet, it was one of those going, okay, like all the staff are going to have to learn some Spanish commands for the dogs because that's all they know. So like saying sit doesn't work. Like you can't tell the dog that because it's not a thing the dog knows.
That is, I didn't never think about that, but that is definitely true. Never. Interesting.
Yeah. And or the big one for this is it's a big Frida is a big Rottweiler, and she's just this big love puppy, but she loves to jump up on you, and so we have to yell abejo for down. I think I'm saying that right. But that's not my first inclination, and so I'm sitting there going down. Oh, right, that's you. Okay, yes. Abajo. See, and it's like I've been having to do like going to Google Translate and making sure that I'm enunciating these words and saying them appropriately and speaking to the dogs in a way that they understand, so that we can work with them. And so that's a learning experience for me and everybody as well. Going, here are all the dog's commands. They're very well trained, but you have to say them not how you would want to, right? Not how your first inclination to do this. And that's hard. That's different to be in that mindset of, okay, like I am going to have to be active in this, but I have to be active in a different way. And I think it's really good and healthy to do that. It's very challenging in that aspect of going, I know how to work with dogs. I know how to do this. I know the dog knows, but there's a literal language barrier, and more than just me speaking to the dog. Like I have to speak to the dog in the language that it understands.
Yes. It is a new and exciting development, right? Random dog commands in Spanish.
Yes. And I had heard that before of like people getting rescue dogs and realizing, like, learning more about the history of the dog, and they have this really unruly, like I've heard of those stories before, but this is really, after 11 years of doing this is the first time that we've just impersonally have encountered working with a dog like that. And so I think it's been very interesting, a lot of fun.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
I'm envisioning your next other podcast title, like, oh no, my dog speaks French. Like, what?
Right.
Yeah. What to do with multilingual dogs? Oh no.
Right? Like, this is I think that's very it's just something that, again, going right, like, this is I need to be consciously aware of this, and that doing that, I think that this experience is now something that I think we can I know I can personally build on and discuss with people as they come to us, or have that need there, because I know, like, there's a car lot here in town, and they hire one of our clients actually works there, and he was hired to be the Spanish translator for customers to come in. He's a car salesman and he sells cars. But he was hired specifically to be a translator in that context. And it was like, wow, like that. I would love to be able to provide something like that for us internally, like to have that ability to act and interact and be connected with, because I think that would just be very beneficial for more people. So it just things that I think about of like, okay, now how do I need to hire somebody who is multilingual, who can help me and put things out and talk and do all that stuff as well, because that's not something that I personally am involved in or do really just honestly on a daily basis.
Oh yeah, and it's definitely tricky. That's stuff I've had to deal with a lot with like teaching, right? Because I've had students before that like, here's a new student, no English, none, right? 0, 7.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so we've had some very some challenges in the past, right? But I've had 2 girls that were like that, right? That were like, hello, like this is it, no English whatsoever. And we were able to do some really good stuff with them. They were very patient with me, right? They were very kind with my terrible Spanish pronunciation. And we were able to engage and find like resources for them and like translate a lot of material. Like, I'd always just apologize. Like, I know it might be weird. Okay. I know it's not 100% right, but like, go for it. Right. We're going to.
Yeah.
And then just the other side of that is like making them comfortable and saying like, making sure they understand like, look, do all of your work in Spanish. I don't care. I can read it. Fine. And whatever I can't read, I'll translate. It's all translated the way I need it. It's okay. You just give me it in the way that you can. That's all I want. Boom. Done. Like after you get over that hurdle, like I'm just knowing like I don't care what language you give this to me in. I can make it work. All right. Yes. I will do that.
Right. Well, yeah. Going like I will. I know, like, yeah. Basically, going, like, I will put in the work to keep this moving forward. Right. I will meet you where you are, and I will do heavy lifting here. Not that there isn't some requirement on both parties, but going like, no, like I'm the one asking a lot, so the onus is on me to do, like I said, like the heavy lifting and helping out more in this situation.
Yeah. So it is definitely a challenge because you're all of a sudden confronted with like, I don't know what's happening, right? Like, I don't know how to help you because I can only understand a few of the words that you're telling me. So like usually also like luckily, like I've had enough other children in my class that we can like, that also speak Spanish, right? And we can do some live translating that way, like an ask, they can help me a little bit to do that, but it's not always easy either, because like a lot of the academic words are like, I don't know what this means, because it's not a word that they would ever use ever in their life ever,
right?
So like, when are you going to use the Spanish word for Minoans? 0% of your life, right? That's when.
Yeah.
But, it's there in the, so whatever. Like,
well, and with that too, especially with things like science and history, and there are a lot of a lot of technical jargon too, which I could imagine is even more complicated to translate.
It's very difficult. Right. Like, because my food metaphors break down whenever there's a language barrier, and it's like, oh no.
Oh jeez.
Because a lot of times we like break these things down and we like put them in real life situations that like everybody has seen before, right? We're like, today we were talking about like albedo. Ooh, right. Ooh, but like what it's like to step on the road in the summer without your shoe on, right? you know that's an unpleasant feeling because it's really hot. You're like, I'll just run across the parking lot to the pool. Nope. No, I won't. I won't do that because my feet are going to melt off, right? But so like those conversations can't happen if the other person doesn't know what the words you're saying mean. So like it does add some very difficult layers to that. Like makes things very tricky. But you know, it's all right. They did very good in my class. They were both very like I don't know the word I'm looking for, like very motivated, right? They were motivated as well. So like that was very like, oh, okay, let's go. Because they were like ready to go. So like, all right, let's go, let's do it.
That definitely helps to have that both parties pushing forward.
Yes. I'm gonna backtrack slightly. To dog things.
Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah.
I want your opinion on something, right, that I encountered the other day. And after it happened, both Susan and I were just like, what?
Oh, no.
So we're out going for our after-school stroll about the neighborhood, right?
Uh-huh.
And the end of our stroll, there's like this random like old path that goes through the woods, and that's where we go. We go up there, turn around, come back. That's like the end, because there's like deer and like all kinds of crazy, like there's a skunk over there, whatever. Right?
Wendigos,
luckily not seen any Wendigos.
But they see you.
You know,
that's the problem.
Yeah, you're not. You don't usually see them, right? They're lurking. Even though they are sometimes as tall as a tree.
Sometimes
ravenous,
right? Tree or Wendigo. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Squirrels though, everywhere. Anyway, going through there, we came back through the thing, and this like massive German Shepherd puppy thing was like bounding through the yard, right? And so we were kind of like, because we didn't see him until he like rounded the corner of the house. There he was, but he was like playing, right? He was like jumping and like he was frolicking, right? And you know, we were like, oh, he's so cute. Rah, rah. What's his name? Yeah, I don't use his name for training purposes. I was like, what?
Mm-hmm.
What is
what is that?
What does that mean?
What?
So either my neighbor is breeding some sort of dog that only speaks German, and is some sort of like crazy attack dog, right? Or
don't use your. Why? What?
I don't know. That's what he said to us, because he was out there. We're like, oh, what's his name? And he was like, yeah, I don't use his name for training purposes. And we both were just like, okay, bye. I did not know what to do with that information at all.
It makes no sense at all. Unless he's trying to use other techniques to get the dog's like attention.
Maybe.
Right? Like, I guess because in like no. Like, yeah.
Right. But like, okay, so I would buy that, except for if he's doing that, he's doing it wrong, because he was like out there and he wanted the dog to come back to him, and he just kept being like, hey, get over here. Right. He didn't like, there was no like command, like whenever you do that kind of thing, you say that there's like some sort of like a word. Right. And whatever that word is, that's what the dog is supposed to do. Right. Like heel, come, sit. Right. Or like the German equivalent, if you are a crazy insecure person who needs an attack German Shepherd in your house. I don't know. Yeah. Like, he wasn't doing that. He was like just saying sentences at the dog, which is not helpful. That's not how you do that. So I was just like, what? What is this guy doing?
Because I know people who will go like Kobe sit, Kobe sit, Kobe sit, Kobe sit, Kobe sit, Kobe sit.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying the command, but that's very different, because if you do have a dog that is distracted, like you do say the dog's name to get its attention, and then you give a clear command. But you don't.
But then you don't repeat then you just repeat the command.
Yes, once you have the attention,
right, like, sit, and then you work through that, right? But
yeah.
I don't use my dog's name.
No, like you're supposed to use the dog's name for like bonding and like positive things, and like there's a lot. Okay, no, that's very disturbing.
This is what I thought, right? And so I was just very perplexed, right? I didn't understand what was happening. Right. My mind was going through all of the things that I know about dog training, which, to be fair, not a long list, right? But still a list. More than 2 things on this. And I was just like, that doesn't really compute with what's going on here. I don't. Because if he would have been saying like, sit, heel, something like, he didn't say any of those things.
Yeah.
He was just saying like, all right, get here, get over here, come back, put that, like, just very confusing.
Maybe, and then I'm like, okay, maybe the dog was named by somebody else, and the dog's name is like Bit, and he doesn't want to say Bit because it sounds like sit. Or something like that. Like there's a name. The name sounds like a common command that
or maybe he was changing the dog's name. I don't know. Like he adopted it, but I don't think you adopt a pretty full-blooded looking German Shepherd. That doesn't really seem like a thing that would just happen.
Well, I mean, you'd be surprised.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, that's how we got Chuck. He was in a shelter like that, but this was like a puppy. It's like a German Shepherd puppy.
Oh.
So
that doesn't seem right.
Yeah. I was just very confused. And I wanted you to know this. I just was like, this happened like 2 weeks ago. And Susan keeps me like, you got to tell Colin about this weird thing. And I keep forgetting.
I too am confused. It doesn't make sense at all.
Right? Like, I don't.
Yeah, I just don't see how. I just don't see how that's beneficial. And
even like, I was even thinking like about how police dogs work, right? But even police dogs, they respond to their name and their commands, and then they get their treat because they did their thing, right? If they're like sniffing a thing, you're like, hey, come here, hunt. And then they do the thing and they're like, good boy, whatever.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's even how like police dogs work. Right.
Yeah.
So like, the only dogs that don't work like that are like attack dogs, right? Like,
yeah, that's what's scary about that of going, yeah. Are you, what's the purpose of this dog at this point? Cause that doesn't seem like it's very,
yeah. Right. Like, cause like those dogs, like you see the thing on the, those videos where they're in the suit and the dog like brings them down or whatever. Like, those dogs, they don't. Yeah, those defense team dogs, they don't say their name there, right? But again, those video clips are only like ever 30 seconds long, so I'm not sure. But I was just very perplexed. My mind immediately went to worst case scenario of like, oh my gosh, this guy thinks he needs an attack dog.
Yeah, unfortunately,
like, I don't know if that's true, but like,
well, there's that big difference. We've talked about this before. Those people who go, yeah, I got a defense dog versus like an actual trainer who knows what they're doing in those things. When that's really true. It's like, oh yeah, I have a defense dog, and that's just code for they're very broken. And I'm fine with that. Like that's versus somebody, because we had a guy reach out to us, and he actually runs a very reputable training company.
Yeah, I think that's why we talked about this, right? You mentioned that. That's yeah.
And it was like, oh, like that was not something we wanted to take on for obvious reasons,
safe insurance reasons, right?
Insurance reasons. Well, that was another aspect of it too, because it turns out our insurance has limitations on what they define what a pet is. Have I talked to you about this? Right?
No, but I imagine if you have one of those crazy dogs that are like real popular right now, those like Cane Corso things or whatever.
Cane Corsos, yes.
Yeah, they're just like they're just for face eating. Like,
yeah.
Like, I don't think one of those probably doesn't qualify as a pet.
The Cane Corsos, I have steered clear to these. We had one lady who reached out who she had 5 of these, and 3 of them were her home protection dogs. And I was
they are just like battle tanks, right?
They are.
Like,
yep.
People think pit bulls are vicious. These dogs are insane.
Yes, not. Yeah, they were used for hunting and herding cows. Like that's anyway. They're very weird dogs, and
those dogs are used for herding cows.
They were historically. I don't know.
Okay.
I just know they were.
I was gonna say like it's really odd to me that Cane Corso and Corgi both can herd cows. Right? It's just very weird.
Yes.
What a juxtaposition that is.
Yep. Very.
What?
Might as well. If you've got it, use it. But yeah, they're used for hunting large game. And this lady wanted us to come and do visits. And I was like, no, that's not something that we can take on. And then this guy reached out to us with his German Shepherds, and he actively trains protection, and he does competitions with these kind of dogs. And here's the thing. If the pet in any way, shape, or form brings some sort of income to the owner, we cannot care for it. And here's why. Because
it's not a pet then. It's like a working
It's a working thing. And if you think an injury claim to a pet is a lot of money, now just imagine if you get slapped with a loss of income lawsuit.
Yeah.
Where they go, look, you maimed my show dog, and I was winning, these first place, blue ribbons or whatever, at $20,000 a pop, and I was making $80,000 a year. So I'm going to sue you to replace my next 10 years of income, because that's how long I expected this dog to live, and win for me. People don't like insurance companies don't want to get involved in that.
No, I don't get involved in that either. It's insanity.
So we have to it was a new question that we had to ask of like, okay, right. What do you do with your dog? Like anything. So as soon as we do, like if they start hearing like traveling for shows or like trophies, it's like, I'm very sorry, but like we can't.
Yeah. When you walk into the house and see like it looks like it's from Best in Show, right? That living room. You're like, oh no.
Yep.
Abort.
Yeah.
Abort the mission.
Usually I get really suspicious when there are only 2 left shoes at the door. That's when I know.
That will tend to make a person quite suspicious. That is fair. That is.
I love that movie so much. It's one of those that I mean, how would you describe the humor of Best in Show?
It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. Right? Like it's very quippy. Right? And I guess that's what you get when you have a movie that has no script, right? It's just a lot of like, it's very quippy, like dry, strange character humor, right? Because most of the humor just comes from like the way that the characters behave.
Yeah.
Right? They're so strange, right? And they do such weird things. But it all still somehow makes sense for the characters in the movie. So I think that's the other part of where the humor comes from. It's like just the way that the characters act, like the weird stuff they do. Like what?
Well, and everything is played just so dry and
so straight, right? Because it's supposed to be a documentary.
Yes, and that's the part of going.
So it's just so like. Meh.
Well, and because it's everything is dialed up, I don't know, like just like 3 clicks on the wheel of like kind of absurdism to the point where it's still believable that humans like this would exist, but they're not so kooky or so crazy that it's mocking, but it's just like, okay, like here's this kind of person just dialed up,
right? Like kind of ratcheted up. Like we're approaching caricature territory.
Right? Yes. Like,
I think that's what it would be, right? I think that's a good way to describe it. It's like caricature-y humor, but the movie is so weird. But it's definitely a movie where the first time I watched it, I was like, "What did I just witness? What the heck?"
Well, and
then the second time, you're like, "Okay, I think I get it now."
Yes. Yep. Well, and I think part of it is because of the cast that they have of just knockout stars, and like Eugene Levy, Fred Willard, Jennifer, what is that, Coolidge?
Her name. Yeah.
Right? Apparently, one thing I learned about the show is that everyone was just given very loose things to say, and so this I think one of the reasons why I like this so much is because of the character strengths that were brought in and the actors and actresses, is that it's they improvised a lot of these things, and so
like almost all of it.
Yeah,
like so almost like the whole thing. Right? It's just like that's what it's like most famous for. It's just like the whole thing is just like a big giant improv scene.
Yes.
And just like more, and they somehow managed to make a modicum of sense. I don't really know how they did that. That's like a miracle.
I think because each person did such a great job of understanding like their character,
right? Yeah, I think they like made the character so strong, and then they just sort of like go from there, and then that's just how they do it.
Yeah, they go, well, if I were this character, this is how they would respond, or here's their history, so here's the kind of things that they would say. But because it's a laugh every time that I've seen it, and I've seen it a few times. So it's really I strongly encourage that. Link in the show notes. For sure.
Okay, so this says the greater part of the film was improvised by the actors with little to no planning. 60 hours of footage were filmed, and then they just sort of like cut it from there.
Well, so that that could be another reason why it definitely has that mockumentary style. And I know films always shoot a lot more, but for what's on screen here, like 60 hours,
and a half,
an hour and a half, to cut 60 hours down to an hour and a half, like that seems a bit excessive.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and they're going to be doing like multiple takes because they just well, wait, no, I'm going to try this instead. Well, right, that's kind of how you do that, and then you sort of like, I guess, just pick the best stuff as it makes it flow at the end a little bit, right?
Right. Well, yeah. Then you have a lot to pick from for the story of, I'm sure the thing about the left feet, they were like, okay, that's hilarious. Like we hit on that finally. So remember that, play that in.
Yeah, we're keeping that. Like
tie that in here or whatever. Like it just, it feels definitely like there's a lot going on here in this.
It's true. And I haven't seen this movie in a very long time, but I'm still looking at these pictures. I'm like, oh yeah.
I mean, I don't know how. It's one. Speaking of things that pop up into your head, where you have to, where you just can't not continue having that thought.
Oh, yes.
With the kids' school, we do a lot of name all, like, let's find words that rhyme with such and such.
Oh yeah,
and they'll go, oh, I know all of those. Those are blah blah blah, and then. Usually in those contexts are like, let's list the varieties of this or the kinds of this. In my head, I go, used to be, I'd name every kind of nut, walnut, peanut, macadamia, that is there, like in my brain. When people start listing lots of things, like that just starts playing in the background while they're talking simultaneously, and I have to stop that.
Oh my gosh. That's true. It's always that, or what they picked that from, the Bubba from Forrest Gump going on this shrimp tirade, right? Like, I think it's even funnier that that it's a joke that's referencing something else, right? Because you're just like,
yeah, there are layers to this.
The layer, yeah, it's good.
This is. Oh, that's good.
Right.
Very good.
Yes. So to close out, I just want to highlight some things here. It's weird. So recently, this is an installment of Brandon watching weird things on television.
Oh, okay.
Everyone's favorite segment, right? I have been actually watching with like consistency this year. Something that I like, sort of, I will oscillate between casually watching it every once in a while to completely forgetting that it exists on this planet.
Okay.
And that is, of course, the weird world that is BattleBots. Right?
Oh, okay. Yes.
The introduction makes a lot more sense now, doesn't it? You see? Look at that.
Yes. Yeah,
I've actually been sort of following it on TV this year, partially because there's nothing. It's the only thing on Thursdays. Really.
Interesting.
It's mildly interesting to watch, other than like reruns of like Law and Order, which are always good, right?
Never a bad one. Yeah.
But when you've seen all of them, it's like, meh. But so I've been watching that this year, and it's a weird. I'm like simultaneously kind of intrigued by how it all works, and also like, what in the world is happening? Right? Like, because I think the thing that gets me, right, is the like pageantry element of the whole deal to like make it television-y, right? There are definitely different categories of teams, right? You can tell by how they're dressed. Because there's definitely these like, the way that they dress themselves for the competition is very interesting, right? There's we're focus on this first. The fashion of BattleBots, right? So you have like the esporty looking ones where they're wearing like, it looks like a jersey, right? And it has like the name of their robot and like weird stuff on it. So they have this like very like esports kind of look, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have like what's I'm going to refer to as like engineer-esque, right? Where they're either just wearing a t-shirt that has like some stuff on it that's vaguely resembling their robot, or like a polo shirt, and that's just what they wear. They're just like, whatever, I don't care. But there are other people who like take the robot and whatever the robot's name is, and then they build their entire persona from that. Right. So today there was one, I don't remember what it's called. It's called like Blackjack or something. But like everybody was wearing like over the top Vegas like sequin vests and like top hats.
Oh, interesting.
Right. Or like some of them are like, they lean more like this like weird like steampunk. There's just like a lot of like leather jackets and like goggles. Right. Or like there's another team that they just look like bikers. Like, I don't know. That's kind of weird, but whatever. Like there's always just like, because it's like a show and it's like drama and it's very like gladiatorial arena-y, right? They all like come out and they're all like costumes and like a presentation thing. And you're like,
well,
you're like, this is weird.
Do you remember where BattleBots originally aired in the US? On what?
Where?
Yeah. Well, okay. So here's my loose connection to BattleBots. I have a hard time remembering whether we used to watch Robot Wars or BattleBots on satellite growing up.
Yeah.
Because Robot Wars was the original one, but BattleBots was the spinoff for the US. But do you remember the original station that carried this?
No.
Comedy Central.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah.
It was like a random thing. Right now, currently it's on the Discovery Channel, which is also weird.
Where most people would assume it is, but it was originally purchased and aired on Comedy Central, which
that's true.
Which a lot of that flavor sounds like it still exists.
There. Well, because I remember the old one was just like, hey, here you go. Hiya.
Right. They didn't quite have the pageantry. I think that's they've ramped that. Sounds like they've
sort of ramped up in the recent times. But it maybe that is right. Maybe that's where it comes from. Anyway. So this part is always confusing me, right? They have like the ring announcer, he like does the announcing. The crowd is chanting something, probably because there's a sign that says chant this, right? I would imagine that's the only way this works, right? I don't think
the scrolling sign.
This many people are not spontaneously cheering the name of this robot. Like, I don't see that happening, right? Maybe as just a filthy casual, right? I don't know that certain teams have a very diehard fan base. I don't know. Like, I don't. Right, it's not like Liverpool, right? I don't know. Like, this doesn't make sense to me that this would actually happen. But maybe it does. I don't know. But yes, this is what I've been mildly obsessed with recently. It's very strange. I don't know why, because this is not really the type of thing that I just like would normally watch all the time, because it's not a show about them building the robot, which definitely sounds like something that I would much rather watch.
Yeah, kind of about. Are you talking about like more behind the scenes or more of the technical aspect of like how because I've always been fascinated by the mechanisms, how they work. Like, I really would love to know the internal, like how do you test these kind of things? Like, how do you?
Yeah,
like it just seems
they show some of that stuff because they have like they test them in like a smaller version of that, what they call the quote battle box, which that hurts me to say that out loud. But they have like a mini version of that with like really thick, like plastic, like bulletproof plastic, right? So they can like turn everything on and sort of whiz it around to make sure things aren't flying off, right? Because these things. I also definitely did not realize how heavy these things were, right? Because like I guess one of the requirements is that they weigh not more than 250 pounds.
Oh,
yeah. Which,
that's a lot.
It is a lot, right? And I think the reason I didn't really think they weighed that much is because when they go like flying through the air,
they look like they weigh nothing.
Yeah, exactly. So that tells you how much torque are in those like rotating weapons, or how much like hydraulic pressure is in those like flippy things.
Yeah.
When they just like go careening through the air, like slam into the wall. Those
okay.
Weigh 250 pounds.
Whoa.
Yeah. That's kind of terrifying.
That is nothing like I would have expected.
Yeah. And so the more you watch it, the more you pick up on these subtle cues that like, this is an extraordinarily dangerous event that I'm watching. Because they'll just casually say the word like 40-pound rotating drum. And you go, excuse you? What? What did you just say?
Uh-huh.
Right? Or like 20-pound like spinning blade. Like, what? That, like, I'm no physicist, but I know that if that blade is spinning with any type of velocity, terrible things are going to happen.
Yeah, that's the other thing of just, again, I have not watched the show since 2000 and let's say 4 or 5.
Yeah, I haven't either, right?
Like, so
occasionally, like every once in a while it would be on and I would watch it like once and then never again. And then forget it existed. Every time I hear the word BattleBots, all I ever think about is Grant Imahara.
Yes, of course.
Right? Like I think about him from Mythbusters.
Yes.
and then I just forget about it and go along my merry way. But this year, I've actually been sort of watching the tournament. Is basically what it is. Right?
Okay.
So it's been very strange.
Well, but I was just saying that I even, thinking back to the original ones, just how almost out of control some of them felt then. And so I don't know if you still have that, if they still have that kind of feeling.
There are a few, right?
Okay.
Because I guess some of them feel that way. I think because this is a tournament and like they, from week to week are not 100% fixed, and so
right, fair point. Yeah,
they're kind of like. But I watched. They had something on the other day, and it was like some sort of like the best of BattleBots type situation, and it was like showing like a lot of like the older matches as well. Like this was a great moment in time or something. I don't know what they called it, but like it was like some of the older robots, they just look like cruder and like even more scary because they're like it's, kind of like, is this thing going to stay together? I don't know what's happening.
Right.
Oh. There's like a level of unpolishedness with some of those older ones. Like when you see the footage now, you're like, oh, okay. I got it. And then there's some of them you're like, that one looks the same. Like, I don't know what's going on.
Oh. Huh.
There's only so many designs, right, that work in this particular scenario.
Right.
That work effectively, I guess. You can do lots of other crazy things, because they always bring that up. Like, this is a very uncommon feature, right? They do something weird, but like pushing the boundaries or whatever. But it's been just very interesting to watch like how this actual tournament functions and how it works. I guess they do like you have 4 matches, right? And based on the results of those 4 matches, they build the bracket from that. Right. So it's like right now it's like the preliminary rounds, I guess.
I see. Yeah.
So they're doing these, like everybody does 4 matches. And like they're all kind of staggered weirdly. So like this person's had 3 matches already. This person's going to have his second match today. You know what I mean? Like they're not just how it works. They can like rotate through and stuff. But they do that. So you have these big preliminary rounds, and then all the people with the best records from the prelims make the championship tournament, I think. This is just what I've pieced together from the commentary. It is not always helpful, right? So this is what again, because I sometimes forget the BattleBots is even a thing. Sometimes they will say words, and I'm just like, what? I don't. None of that computes. I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, I don't know.
Fair enough.
But this is my currently this is my weird obsession for right now. I don't know why, but just like gladiator robots is interesting. I don't know. Tournaments are interesting in general, right? But like, I think it's partially the engineering curiosity of like, how does this work? Because you sit there for a while, right? You watch one and you're like, that's wild, blah, blah. And then after you watch several, your brain starts going, well, those weapons don't match up at all. How is this going to work? Right? And you start filling in these gaps. You're like, wait a minute, how's he even going to hit him? This is a terrible matchup for this guy, right? I don't know what they're going to do. And so we're going to... Jeez. Yeah, and they'll be like, oh, really... they made this modification this week to deal with this opponent. And you're sitting on the couch like, oh, yeah, that's a really great idea. I didn't think about that. Like,
yeah. Don't know why they didn't think of that before. Jeez. Yeah, way to armchair quarterback BattleBots. That's really...
Yeah, right? Just what to do. Like, That's why I didn't know that you could do that. I didn't know that you could modify your robot. Just like, I mean, it makes sense. I didn't know it was in the rules, I guess, that depending on your opponent, you can like swap out different features of your robot.
Well, that
I never would have thought that. I didn't know that was a rule.
No, certainly
I just
not.
thought it was like, here's your robot, go. But it makes sense that you could do that, right? Like, oh, I know this is my next thing, so I'm going to add X, Y, or Z to my robot, death robot here to
obviously
make the matchup more favorable.
Well, that's a good. Well, I guess that means that you have to you have to be more. You have to pick a good platform, right? Of going, okay, I have to have something that is more adaptable to certain things. That's not, right. Like that's so. There's a lot more strategy. I guess there's more strategy in that you have to take into account.
Yeah, about I need to add this, and if there is a very strict weight limit, then that means you might have to take something else off somewhere. Like if you're like close to the thing, because a lot of things they talk about is they add like if they're going against one of those like flippy robots, that like launches you in the air, they try to put like some kind of like skirt thing or like some sort of like fork that makes the front end lower so that they can't get under as easily, right? Or like they add extra something somewhere else if it's going to be like a smashy robot, right? They'll like put something on the top so it doesn't get like crunched. So like this all makes sense. I didn't know that was a thing you could do, but apparently it is. So I've been watching this, and Susan's been sitting over there going, "What? Why are you doing
Why? What?" This is actually quite interesting because our local high school has a robotics team who just had a local competition of a BattleBot-esque
There you go.
thing. And one of my staff members had taken her young son to go watch the competition and was talking about how they, it's not in my mind now, like it's obviously not to the level of BattleBots, on the TV, but it's still in the same spirit of having a team to put together this thing and build it and using different components. And another thing I remember from the television show is the fixing damage, or do you send them back out still damaged, or how do you handle that quickly? Bringing them back in for repairs and all those stuff too. So it's there's a lot going on of. Even if you think you have a BattleBot set, I guess you've got to make not just constant modifications for the opponent, but also like as things happen or as things stop working, like how do you then?
Yeah, that's true. Like I won, but I burned out my drive motor, so like I gotta fix that real quick.
Yeah. So you're enjoying it. It's something that you
I don't. Yes, I can't really quite put my finger on why, but this is what I've been watching recently on on Thursday nights on the Discovery Channel. # not sponsored.
Yes, but maybe. Okay. Well. Yeah. I'm going to have to now go again. I have not watched anything more modern than like 2006. So it sounds like I need to go find some clips and start.
I think, find some highlight clips.
Can I get I bet I can get do they have like team swag that you can get?
I imagine probably can.
Okay.
I don't know where, but you probably can do that. They at least made the shirts for themselves, so I would imagine that you could, if you had a favorite battling robot, that you too could have something. I don't know.
Okay.
Not sure. I have to investigate that a little bit further, but
yeah, let's see. Let's put together our team. What would we build?
Oh, man. Yeah. Hey, Dad.
Need to weld something. Don't ask questions.
We need everything that you know how to do, and I don't.
Right.
That's what we really need.
As it turns out, I just the ideas guy here. Okay. Just
right. Like we got.
Good luck.
Oh, there is a store on the BattleBots website. You can shop now for your favorite shirt and or hat and or whatever that is. Stickers. Bags. You can get a tote bag. Boom.
Okay. Well, we'll add that to the list of things we need to accomplish. Okay. Well, I have more homework this week to watch some BattleBots.
There you go.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Well, on that note, we'll wrap that up.
All right.
Okay. Have a good rest of your time in the storm. Is it still raining?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. Hopefully you'll sleep beautifully.
Oh, yeah.
Love you.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.